Hello friends, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host Jan, and I hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the twice daily series at the moment here on the channel where I collect, consolidate, aggregate the headlines of the Chelsea news. I give you my opinion for whatever that's worth, but more importantly, I ask for yours. Lots to get into today. Arsenal have made a whopping bid for Kai Havertz, I think, exclusive from the Daily Mail. This is pretty old breaking news from the Daily Mail. It's pretty big, actually, and, you know, just wait, strap yourselves in for this video. Ravello are also publishing an article about how Chelsea are very much in the race for Gabri Vega, the young midfielder, and I also want to talk about these Saudi links to Chelsea with the Public Investment Fund. Of course, it's a big story in itself. Yeah, man, there's lots to get into. Of course, we're doing this format of video again, just sitting in the office. No green screen, no graphics. I think the majority of you fancied a change for a bit. So here we are, we're doing it. I serve you, my dear viewer. Please do support the content if you want to, thereby liking the video, commenting all the way, and subscribing should you choose to do so. Hit the bell. All right. Let's get into it. Before we talk about the midfield and the striker, we're going to talk about the Saudi links. Chelsea, by the way, should we sell Havertz, sell these players to Saudi, sign this midfielder? We spoke on yesterday's second video about the striker and goalkeeper issue potentially solved. So if you want to hear my insight and information and opinion on that, go watch the previous upload. But yeah, Chelsea, rather impressingly, and maybe to a degree fortuitously, digging themselves out of this issue. I mean, they've had time to plan it at the arse end of a dead season, so they could have got their head around what they're doing. Of course, let's start with the PIF, the Public Investment Fund. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we all know what's going on with Saudi. They've committed something, don't hold me to this figure, but it's something like 20 billion to the next 2 seasons in the Saudi Premier League or top division to essentially juice the league with the best clubs with some good players. It's not just players in their mid-late 30s like Ronaldo and Benzema. They were getting younger. You know, we got Kante, Ziyech is 30, of course Koulibaly's young. Ruben Neves is gone. He's like 25 years old. That's like Oscar all over again when he went to China. He was 25. Absolutely mental. Well, not mental. Each to their own. It's their decision. So yes, we know what's going on over there. There's like a big exodus of talent, essentially chasing the bag. Of course, I have great concerns with sports washing from certain states, and it's nothing xenophobic. I love and appreciate all cultures. I know that sounds silly that I have to offer that disclaimer, but I do. But I listen to a lot of informative podcasts from different global journalists, and you hear about the issues and the reasons why these clubs and indeed sports are being bought up. Of course, it's not just football; it's like the golf, isn't it? Formula One as well. Anyway. And I was very, very mindful of Saudi media group buying Chelsea, and I was happy we got purchased by Todd Boehly and Clearlake. Of course, they've had their problems. I'm not 100% happy with them, and I do concerned, though I do remain hopeful for the future because I see the appropriate infrastructure and intention, and of course, investment, which I've spoken about, and I won't go into detail again. So Todd Boehly was pictured cruising around Saudi with some big dogs over there, and everyone's thinking, what's he doing over there? It turns out, obviously, we linked a lot of players, and it looks like Koulibaly, and of course Hakim Ziyech, Edouard Mendy, and obviously we've linked other players like Aubameyang, Lukaku, etc. But it looks like those 3 are going to be sold for significant money as well. Koulibaly, we're going to get apparently near £30 million, which is wild. We paid 33 million for him. He's another year older. He's into his 30s. He's had a bad season. His amortization on the books would be that. In terms of financial bookkeeping, we'll break even if we do that, which is wild. And of course, we'll make a few quid for Ziyech. Obviously, being a Muslim country, those 2 guys are iconic to go over there. People were referencing Mendy as a Muslim, but I'm not sure he is. Anyway, I digress. So we're selling players. Turns out, Ben Jacobs of CBS has reported, Chelsea maintain a really good relationship with the Public Investment Fund. So mostly rivals are creating this narrative that, Chelsea spend way too much money, 600 million in 2 windows, breaching financial fair play, and then selling off this deadwood for inflated prices to Saudi to make sure they're okay. Like with these relationships, people think it's interlocked, but by all accounts, I was prepared to, do some honest, sobering reflection and look within and be like, what are we? But some people have reported that, it's nonsense. There's no links of ownership from the PIF to Chelsea. There is a relationship between Clearlake, but I think that's just because they're big money movers. But, I don't know for sure. I just wanted to reference that because, of course, rival fans have been talking about it. Of course, it's been in some headlines. But let's talk about transfers. All right, before we talk about Arsenal's hopping bid for Kai Havertz, we're going to read a translated article from Ravello about Gabri Vega. A little bit of context, this kid is a young central midfielder who has a really good productive output of offensive metrics. Now, we want goals, and, maybe he's like a deputy behind and Cuckoo if both Mount and Havertz go in that cam role, or maybe he does play, he can deputise in the Enzo Fernandez role. We are going to probably almost certainly play a 4-2-3-1 formation, so a double pivot and a cam. The double pivot, first choice, should hopefully, touch wood, consist of World Cup winner Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, and hopefully we don't overpay for him. But that looks like it's going to be, should things go well, our double pivot, which is very strong, by the way. So maybe Vega can play at either the cam or the Enzo role, who would be slightly ahead of the DM, which hopefully in this case will be Moises Caicedo. Right, you're with me? It's not just Chelsea you want him, so let's read what Ravello is saying. And again, you must forgive this article being translated if it sounds a bit weird. The name of Gabri Vega continues to appear in many headlines at the beginning of the summer. The young Celta midfielder, one of the revelations last season in Spanish football, is being closely watched by English teams. Knowing that the release clause of 40 million euros, which is about 34 million pounds, not that much, is affordable for them, Liverpool is the team that starts with a certain advantage. But in recent days, Chelsea has fully entered the race thanks to the insistence of Mauricio Pochettino. The Argentine coach who arrived a few weeks ago to lift the flight of the London team, again, this is translated, off a poor season, has ended up in the midfield of the Premier League, has taken the initiative of various matters in the market. Gabri Vega appears to be among them. In recent times, the strong interest he has in training him for the next season. Essentially, in broken, fragmented language, that is saying Mauricio Pochettino has intervened and has asserted himself to really want this young Celta midfielder. Chelsea are in a huge rebuilding process. Months ago, it changed ownership from Abramovich to Bowley, and of course Clearlake, who has already made numerous investments. He's committed to young players, or his commitment to young players was clear with the arrival of Enzo, who's 22, Fofana, who's 21, Mudryk, who's 22, Badiashile, who's 21, Madueke, who's 20, Malo Gusto, who's 19, and of course we've got Chukwuemeka, who might be a first-team player. We've already got young players in the squad like Lewis Hall, Levi Colwill, Armando Broja. It looks like we're going to sign Nicholas Jackson, who's also very young. It goes on and goes on. So we're waiting, and this article goes on. I won't read more fragmented, distorted English. Essentially, Mauricio Pochettino wants Vega. I think that's how you pronounce it. Do correct me phonetically if I'm saying it wrong in the comments. I'll try and read them, and I'll try and get to that. Yeah, man, look, I wanted to just say, should we believe what I went in detail about in my previous upload, that Pochettino is very interested and very keen to play back and develop Kepa Arrizabalaga, and, Fabrizio Romano's telling the truth, which I'm sure he is, about this young striker, Nicola Jackson, and our profound belief in Armando Broja. Really, that's centre forwards, first team goalkeeper, and midfield sorted. If we sign Vega and Moises Caicedo, we're kind of sorted. Bearing in mind Nkunku and Malo Gusto's coming. Bearing in mind, yes, of course, a priority is to sell all these players, get the deadwood off, the high wages, recoup some money for transfer fee. But like I said at the top of the video, Saudi Arabia is seemingly aiding Chelsea in that, in us developing some transfer fees for Mendy, Ziyech, and Koulibaly. That's pretty darn huge, man, in terms of money. And then we've sorted out these problem positions. Of course, the likes of Bakayoko has been released. Other players will go. A couple will go on loan. Chelsea are making serious moves. And of course, there's still scope for money to be made within the Premier League. Of course, it looks like Chelsea are going to make around £30 million, maybe just over, for Mateo Kovacic to Manchester City. It looks like that's on the cusp of being done. Mason Mount remains up in the air, will he or won't he? But to be honest, with all this stuff happening, including this Kai Havertz story, which I'm about to talk about, maybe, we keep Mason or we give him a little bit more money and, that thing is done. It's very, very interesting to see, but Chelsea making serious moves. So let's talk about Kai. Mail Online, breaking news, Arsenal make new £60 million offer for Chelsea's Kai Havertz and prepare a £210,000 per week contract to wrap up the deal quickly. I wonder if that's less or more than we pay. It won't be more. We probably pay him like around that, don't we? Hold on, £60 million. Before we read this, for context, Liam Twomey of The Athletic, not me, has explained on a podcast a couple of months ago that Chelsea's remaining value on the books to be paid off for Kai Havertz in terms of amortization is £28 million to break even in terms of bookkeeping. Now, we sell him for £60 million. That puts us in profit in terms of financial fair play. Of course, we signed Kai Havertz for £72 million, £12 million more. But to sell him with 24 months left on his contract at £60 million, after a relatively underwhelming time at Chelsea, in some ways, of course, that's up for debate, that's pretty ruddy good, man. And considering probably Pochettino signed off on this and he's like, yeah, he's good, I'd like to train him, but if you can make 60 million and buy me this player and let me work with exactly what I want to do, this is pretty darn good, man. So let's read. Arsenal have made an improved verbal offer worth 60 million to Chelsea, so it's 55 plus 5 million in bonuses. Having their original offer around 50 million turned down, even Chelsea just turning down 50 million for Kai when they need money is showing some stones. But Chelsea last week, Arsenal have continued talks with Chelsea over agreeing a new fee for the German international. Those discussions accelerated over the weekend, and the Mail Sport now understands that a fresh verbal offer has been made. Arsenal want to wrap up a deal quickly. And already a broad agreement is placed for personal terms for Kai. Havertz will be offered a long-term contract, which I think at Arsenal will be 5 years, worth a minimum of £210,000 per week, so there'll be bonuses in there. The ball now is in Chelsea's court whether they will agree for Havertz. Apparently we valued him between 70 and 75 million, which is mental, getting our money back. That is tactics. 60 million, when you wave a certain amount of money under someone's nose, despite what they said before, when they see the cash, when the money's on the table, it's going to be hard to turn down. Pertinently, Havertz has already given the go-ahead. He wants to join Arsenal. Many people are hurt by this, but, he doesn't owe anything to Chelsea, really. He's not a Chelsea fan. He scored that goal. It would hurt more if Mason Mount was pushing for Arsenal. But even though Arsenal were interested in Mount, he said, I won't go there because of my Chelsea links, which is actually significant, by the way, because Arsenal are a good team. That's probably why Havertz wants to go there. They're certainly better than United at the moment. And you get to stay in London. You don't have to go up north where it rains a lot. But Caicedo will cost at least 100 million. Chelsea need to bring in peas. Yeah, man, we've done this, we've spoken about this, it hurts. A lot of people like Kai Havertz. I really like Kai Havertz. I think he's got untapped potential. Whether he'll realise that at Arsenal or not, I'm not sure. It hurts less to see Kovacic go to City because he's pushing 30 and he's quite good, but he's off the ball a little bit. And yes, he'll get better at City because it's City and it's Pep, but I'm okay with that. Everyone's okay with Koulibaly, Mendy and Ziyech being sold. But there's a certain element of understanding of sacrifices emotionally that you have to make in this scenario. Look, as far as I'm concerned, this deal is going to happen. And I'm not saying that I have any insight. I've just got a gut feeling. Of course, I have no ins. It's always important to reiterate that. I am just a fan like you. reflecting. So what do you think, man? Tell me what you think. Kai Havertz, 60 million. I'd personally rip their hands off. Of course, the links with Saudi, this Vega, the midfielder, the strikers. There's so much to talk about. I'll be really interested in reading your comments, so please do comment down below. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Of course, turn the bell on because there'll probably be a video very, very soon, and I don't want you guys to miss it. And thanks again for your support. Peace.